use the mic.
Yeah. Next time, yeah. Just on. Remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
Remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord,
Remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, who
I am home, I am home, eternal home.
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 Through this life of distraction and of illusion, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
This life of distraction and of illusion, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
Through this life of distraction and of illusion, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
Through this life of distraction and of illusion, remind me, my Lord, who I
I am truth, I am peace, divine bliss.
am truth, I am peace, divine bliss.
I am truth, I am peace, divine bliss.
I am truth, I am peace, divine bliss.
Hey Ananda Swarupa, hey Prema Swarupa, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
Swarupa, hey Prema Swarupa, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
Hey Ananda Swarupa, hey Prema Swarupa, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
Ananda Swarupa, hey Prema Swarupa, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
I am love, your love. I am love, your love. Remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
Remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
I am home, eternal home. Through this life of distraction and of illusion, remind me, my Lord, who I am truth, I am peace, divine
I am
bliss.
truth, I am peace, divine grace.
Ananda Swarupa, hey Prema Swarupa, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
Ananda Swarupa, hey Prema Swarupa, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
I am love, pure
I am
love.
love, pure love.
I am love, pure love. Remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord, who I am.
सर्वधर्म स्वरूपा साई सर्वधर्म स्वरूपा साई
सर्वधर्म स्वरूपा साई
शिरडी के अवतारा
शिरडी के अवतारा
परती के अवतारा मेरे बाबा मेरे साई मेरे बाबा मेरे साई मिलते हैं तेरे द्वारे साईं राम 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 सर्वधर्म स्वरूपा साईं
Sai Ram, and welcome back. Hope you had good lunch and managed to burn off a few calories with physical activities and games. Our next guest speaker this afternoon Thank you. Thanks. Our next guest speaker this afternoon is Brother Anthony Griera. With a Bachelor of Arts in Education honors, Brother Anthony specializes in teaching English as a foreign language and is a committed educator based in Barcelona, Spain. He also holds an IT Office software teaching certificate and has a postgraduate degree in management of educational institutions. A devoted follower of Bhagavan since 1990, Brother Anthony has dedicated nearly 22 years to the field of education, consistently integrating Swami's profound teachings on spirituality and human values across various educational settings in Spain. Presently, he serves as the national president for the Sri Sathya Sai Global Council in Spain. Can I now invite Brother Anthony to address us, please? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, a little lower, please. Just a tiny little lower. Thank you. Right in my face. Thank you so much. Om Shri Sai Ram. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagwan. I pray and offer to thee, Swami, for the deliverance of this humble public address. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, Shrilas and Shrimatis, because we have the wealth of Swami's faith. At the outset, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the Sri Sathya Sai organization of the UK, the Sri Sathya Sai Global Council, for their amazing hospitality and the invitation to this wonderful event. Thank you so much from the deepest recesses of my heart. This national retreat feels like a full Sai Mela, filled with aspiring satsangis, yogis, and yoginis. One couldn't find himself in a better place than this. Really, really I'm saying. I will start by what is often one of the most excuse me if this is very scripted, okay? I will start by what is often one of the most asked questions, if not the most one, to Sai devotees anywhere. How did you get to know about Swami? Well, in my case, it relates to my beloved and late mother, who happened to be, in the words of Swami himself in an interview, a good person and one of very strong spiritual aspirations. It all started with the notion of reincarnation. As you may know, that is outside the official canon of Christianity, which was my family's religion before knowing about Swami. My mother, since her youth, had these vivid and recurring dreams about specific locations in a time she identified as a long past. When she would wake up from those dreams, she remembered a lingering feeling of happiness mixed with a strange, profound nostalgia. She would explain those to my grandmother, as she herself believed in intuition and was kind of open to these things. Not my grandfather, unfortunately. What confused my dear mother was that those dreams would be quite repetitive in their nature, extremely realistic, lucid, and detailed, without any of the extravaganza that may go often with dream casting. Some dreams are chaotic and some are more rational. And to top it up, they occurred, the dreams, several times per year. They were consistent. As she grew older, she got married, and the dreams not only didn't cease, they became more and more complete and detailed, always within the same framework of specific locations and details. Upon so much coherence and such repetitive nature, she started taking notes of everything. As those were places she had never traveled to before, she started thinking that those may be astral travels, to put it in the spiritual vocabulary that was starting to be fashionable in the 1980s. She knew she was herself in the dreams, but different and with ancient clothing. As a means of transportation, there were no motor vehicles, only animal traction, carts, or carriages. It was Europe, but could this all be about her own past? She felt like it was herself all the time. In spite of her Catholic upbringing, it didn't really strike in a negative fashion to her, as she knew deep down that the spiritual path can be confined to one life only, and death was in the end. A pattern that was often repeated was this dream where she entered into a very big church through a side door. The side door was below street level, most unusually, about 1 meter, served by a few stair steps. The church had only one central big aisle. It was kind of dark, very striking for such a big religious building, not Gothic, but more of the kind of the late Romantic in its style. It wasn't a cathedral, albeit very large. There were details as well of the surrounding streets outside the main entrance. The weather was much harsher than that we were used to in northern Spain. The villages were surrounded by deep forests, some of them with what seemed like craters of long inactive volcanoes. Very strange everything. In her notes, she started referring to the church lovingly as my sunken floor church, or the church of the sunken floor, on account of the below street level situation of the building. Another important location was another church with imposing white columns, which left her dream self in awe every time she saw them. Finally, a mountainous pilgrimage place with long stairs up a very steep hill, and most especially, the presence in all those churches of black sculptured Madonnas. You know Madonnas, Virgin Mary. In Barcelona, we do have a Holy Mary Madonna of Montserrat who happens to be black. But it wasn't that one. Not by any means. They were different. It was 1986 already, and she wanted to make something out of all this. All these places had to exist somewhere. Even if now in the 20th century, there were cars speeding along and people clad in modern clothes. She thought, these must exist at some point. It was all too coherent and detailed to be ignored. She prayed and prayed for answers, and boy, did she get them. Upon some investigation, in the spring of 1987, she found out that the region was Auvergne in France's Midlands, a volcanic land full of green forests and host to the world's biggest late Romantic-style religious buildings and several black fashion Madonnas. I brought some pictures with the talk, but you can look it up later if you, remember some of the names that I'm going to bring up, okay? Just to satisfy your curiosity. The sunken church was Saint-Julien in the small city of Brioude. When she visited for the first time, she was puzzled as the side entrance that she used to remember was bricked up. But upon asking the sacristan, the caretaker, about it, he told her that during the riots of the French Revolution, it was closed down due to safety reasons. The church was sunken just as she remembered, and then there were architectural and geological explanations for that. She even inquired about the glassworks, which appeared now more detailed and colorful than what she remembered and she had seen in the dreams themselves. Again, those had been repaired and replaced from damage during the French Revolution, somewhere between the 18th and the 19th century. The church with imposing white marbles, the other one, was Notre-Dame-du-Port in Clermont-Ferrand, about 30 miles from the city of Brioude. It had one of the Black Madonnas. Again, the pilgrimage place, the one with the long staircase, was Notre-Dame-du-Puy, with its imposing steps, and again, with another Black Madonna from her dreams. Beset with all this evidence, she fully embraced the notion of past lives and reincarnation, and her spiritual quest got stronger as ever. She knew in her heart of hearts that the guru or spiritual master is waiting for her to guide her somewhere. Lo and behold, in late 1989, she made acquaintance with the daughter of a very important Advaita Spanish philosopher, Antonio Blay. And that's when she got to know about Swami. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna assures Arjuna that he never forsakes his devotees and ensures they are born into pious families so that they may not lose track of it. This is found in chapter 9, verse 22, and chapter 6, verses 40 to 42. I'll skip the Sanskrit. I don't want to massacre it. To those who are constantly devoted and who worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And in chapter 6, verses 40-42, Sri Krishna explains, the unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets, the lokas, of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. I think the aristocracy word is a translation problem because Varta means the virtuous, and, well, Bharat is the Aryavarta, the land of the virtuous. So sometimes some Bhagavad Gita versions have these problems. Or he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Verily, such a birth is rare in this world. These verses highlight Krishna's promise to protect and guide his devotees, ensuring their spiritual progress across lifetimes. Well, she had made it in that regard. She had met her true Sadguru, the Purna Avatar, no less. From 1992 onwards, she had 43 plus trips to Puttaparthi, Vrindavan, and Kodaikanal. Unfortunately, my parents' marriage was one fraught with much difficulty, some psychological abuse towards my mother, and physical distance. As you may know, Swami was very against divorce, but in my mother's case, he allowed it and guided her through it. There's a significant story in that regard in one of her interviews. During one, Swami showered her with his unfathomable love. But out of the blue, he told her that her husband was right there. She had read somewhere of a miracle of Swami transporting a person from another continent right into the interview room. So she feared that my father would show up at any moment. Well, the interview finished without further ado in that regard, but on the way back to her room, she was brooding on why Swami would have said such a thing to her. When she got to her room in the Prashanti North buildings, she opened the door, and boom, she realized the meaning completely. Swami was there in the room, his beloved Swamiji. Why? Whenever she traveled on her own, she would bring herself with a portrait, a blessed robe, and well, later on padukas, and she would lay them carefully on the second bed in the room. Be it a hotel, the ashram, anywhere she went. She loved Swami with all her heart as her dearest companion, father, mother, and guru. Coming back to the family, in 1990, the first book that she read was Sai Baba and the Psychiatrist, and it made a strong impression of all of us. She hung a few pictures, and when I asked her who that person was, her reply was, a handsome prince-like saint in southern India. As to me, as an 11-year-old kid at the time, I must say I fell in awe and affection with Swami's image. Up to that point, I had always regretted not having been born around Jesus in his living sojourn on earth. As Baba's divinity became evident to me, I jumped at the chance to deepen my faith. As many devotees, I've had on occasion dreams where he was consoling me or guiding me on important issues. Whenever I have such a dream, it is always a most joyful occasion, and the happiness, or bliss, should we say, lingers for quite a few hours. The problem is that some of these dreams are premonitory, that something challenging is going to happen, or I'll get bad news of some sort. But they instill strength, and they help out. My first trip to Prasanthi Nilayam was sometime later, though, in December of 1993. I was lucky to see and experience the melting sun and hot concrete courtyard that preceded the wonderful Sai Kulwan Hall. It had its charm and beauty, having Swami roam an open space. And the sand, oh, the sand. Many would rush to collect that which Swami had stepped on. My first experience with Swami was that of handing out letters. I had tried having him take one. Even when I had first line of row, he passed by. He glanced at the letter not very happily. Then I realized, full of me, that, well, I was a kid, at the time, but it was just a folded paper slip. So I should get a proper envelope for it. The right etiquette was needed. Swami took the envelope letter right at the following darshan. It didn't take much long. Over the years, I basked in his unparalleled love with his darshan glazes, whenever those occurred, of course. As many of you, patience in spirituality is a must. Then there was the interview in 2001. That was during what I would call the summer of spirituality. In the first part of the trip, I went to Shirdi. It was wonderful. I don't have words to stress how important it is for a Sai devotee to visit at least once our Sai Mecca. The Duni has been burning non-stop since the 19th century. And all the sites were magical to me. They came alive after having read quite a few times the Sri Sai Satcharitra, the abridged version though. The longer was published by Sterling Publishers way, way later, in English, of course, by Sri Nagesh Vasudev Gunaji. Many devotees, they use it for their saptahas. All the venues came alive, the Dwarka Mayi, the Chavadi, the Lendi Gardens, where Swami would spend so much time on his own. The daily aratis are a true sight to behold and partake. Well, I went down from Manma Junction in Maharashtra to Dharmavaram Station on the Karnataka Express train. The journey was quite an experience, a 22-hour ride full of excitement and anticipation at getting to the holy abode in the south. In Prasanthi Nilayam, I had the most wonderful darshans. A strange sort of luck had me in the three first lines during a whole week, consistently, the lottery. It didn't happen after that, and then for the trips, but that was the year, Swami approached me up to 3 different times, asking me instantly the same question: where do you come from? I would answer, Spain, Swami. And he would immediately leave looking a bit disappointed, as if I had given the incorrect answer to a question. Well, anyway, I was elated that the amazing gift of combined darshan and sambhashan. Even to this day, I cherish them immensely. But at the same time, I was understandably intrigued. It was no coincidence he would ask the same question up to 3 times, 3 separate darshans. So I was determined to give another answer this time. In my north building room, I pondered a bit. I realized that I had, in fact, come from Shirdi, not straight from Spain. Also, I was no more, no less, a Jivatma trapped into this play of Maya, and their personal ego. That's things that I was thinking about, So the answer would be now, Shirdi Swami or you, Swami. Well, we'll never know which one would have been more appropriate, as he came straight to me in the afternoon darshan, and he inquired, how many? As a side note, but very interesting nonetheless, related to this, I had always feared that my monkey mind would have ruined and prevented me from enjoying an interview with Swami, should that happen. Well, waiting during that afternoon darshan, and prior to the moment when Swami approached me, I felt a very unusual headache, like this energy coming down and blocking my thoughts and stopping them all together and putting my mind into a blank. It left me a bit hazy. So, well, carrying on with the interview. The day was July the 30th, 2001. The Canadian group, where I had a good friend of mine, had a group interview the previous day inside the mandir. You can enjoy this rare video on our Sri Sathya Sai Global Council Europe's YouTube channel, should you want to. It's a full interview with Swami in the mandir. Kindly look it up. I'm sure you'll love it. You'll enjoy it a lot. Swami made us enter the interview room. There were about 15 Spanish nationals and a group of 8 Indians that he had scattered and sorted from the darshan area. I remember feeling first that he was so out of worldly. I have never been one to see or detect auras, even skeptical sometimes, whenever some people claim to see them. But that day, oh my, I saw this bright light being projected from him in all directions while he was seated. After some silence, the first sentence he uttered was to an Indian young lady, the first, mind you. You will be married in 15 days. And he proceeded to materialize the Mangala Sutra. You can imagine the look of awe, thankfulness, and bewilderment in the girl's face. A lot happened. Some remarkable comments were like when he told an old Spanish resident that her heart wasn't right and he would take care of the issue. The lady went on to live for, yes, at least 10 more years after the interview. And having had her heart checked, she indeed had a condition, just as Swami had foretold. Swami also told another Spanish lady in her 30s, you have been looking for a husband these last 5 years. She was dismayed. It was a true gotcha. We had a devotee in the Spanish group also that had unfortunately fallen into addictions and were just recovering from those. Swami was unbelievably loving and understanding with him, just like a concerned father. He reassured him with one of his usual, I know. Another remarkable event was when he asked an Indian gentleman, what do you want? The gentleman replied, Moksha, Swami, liberation. Swami, a bit serious and even sad, inquired, if I give you moksha, who's going to take care of your 2 children? Because he had 2 boys, and they're in the room. So the man requested, Swami, please bless my children. And so he did. As for me, in the other room, he asked me about my studies. Study well. He stressed that education is for life, not for a living. Very important message. An anecdote is that I had been arguing with my roommate for days that outside the ashram in the village, the vibe was too commercial and it could distract us spiritually. My roommate, he liked to hang out. He was, Westerner. He liked to hang out in the restaurants outside at night and speak to this fella and that fella. And about Swami, and as you may imagine, he would never quite get the right type of information. Tons of useless gossip from various people. On the other hand, I would stay in the room consuming Sai literature like there was no tomorrow. Those were the days. Well, in the interview, Swami, just out of the blue, said, looking at me, inside good, outside bad. So it was an amazing reassurance. As to my roommate, he was having many doubts. Many doubts about Swami. Especially after all those gossipy soirees in Puttaparthi's cafes. It is amazing because shortly after this, Swami asked him about his wife, that roommate, The devotee didn't speak English and he didn't understand a iota. So he requested me to translate whatever Swami was asking him. But at the very moment, Swami yelled at him and he said, "Look at me." Swami's tone and face were a mixture of disappointment and sadness at losing something, quite like the most concerned father. Well, back in our room, the devotee confessed to having had huge doubts and even a bad thought before Swami had yelled at him. For reference, this was July of 2001, and we weren't that far in time from that demonic, libellous campaign that had been thrown against Swami in the late 90s, early 2000s. My roommate, even after having been a devotee for a very long time, had been listening to many of those tales and fabrications from some folks in the cafes and all that. Well, going back to the interview, Swami did something of a profound spiritual significance. He showed us his open palm very openly and asked, "What do you see?" Some answered, "A palm, Swami." He replied, "Everything is nothing, and nothing is everything." And actually, that was the hand he used to materialize. So again, a most profound teaching. He called us into the inner room. He asked me, "Where is girlfriend?" I was confused as I hadn't had many, and unfortunately, I had to break up with my last one. Yeah, it's the truth, isn't it? Mostly due to spiritual incompatibilities. Luckily, he didn't let me answer and continued. "I don't like girlfriends. There are no rights and no responsibilities. I like marriage." So he really dislikes the current Western concept of romance and all this dating and dumping business of people. Actually, an Australian devotee of Indian origin, a friend of mine, he also confirmed that something similar had been said in his interview. In those days, precisely. He asked me, "What do you want?" And I answered very sheepishly. You can imagine, I'm shy right now as it is. You can picture before Swami. And I said, "You, Swami." Well, lucky me, he jokingly accepted. He said, "Here I am. Take me." I was tremendously lucky to be seated at his feet at the moment. So in an exercise of extreme boldness, I gently circled his legs with my arms in an embrace. I had previously had an instance of sparshan in a darshan, where I was able to touch his hands momentarily. Now, I was extremely fortunate to have it in the interview room itself. A most strange thing occurred after that, as he held my hands for what must have been some seconds, but felt really much longer to me. I felt a very strange electric current running through my legs. Well, I realized my big toe was touching, at the moment, ever so slightly his feet. Well, not everything were going to be pleasantries. As you know, Swami will correct you, sometimes kidding and making fun, if need be. In that regard, he very sweetly told me I had a monkey mind. In his own words, now it's here and then there. It's all over the place. Up to the interview, I had had the most difficult times at home with my parents' divorce, having had even to protect and support my mother in many difficult situations. So in a moment of weakness, during the interview, I suddenly remembered all that trouble, and I felt dejected, but at the same time like, oh yeah, but you know what, last time here. Oh boy, what a mistake. Swami immediately held up his arm as though to hit me and sternly stated, "Never be sad. Sadness separates you from God." It is a very important lesson, and I am so ever grateful for it, even if I committed a mistake. And that's why Swami would always insist on us being happy, happy, happy as the way to the Lord, who is full himself of that sweet Ananda. Two funny instances about Swami's omniscience regarding languages. As I hadn't replied when Swami inquired about the girlfriend situation, I sort of wanted to ask him about the topic. I was a bit curious after that. Before I could finish, he very funny asked, I started mumbling something. So before I finished, he asked the Spanish group, what is he saying? A Spanish devotee translated for him my English sentence. They didn't actually translate because she uttered it in complete and perfect Spanish. There was no translation at all by mistake. But Swami went, as in, I get it. Also, when he asked me about my name and then surname, he wouldn't accept at all any translation or English version of them. Swami would only accept my name and surname pronounced in my Catalan regional language. Only when I said it and pronounced that way, he was satisfied, because he kept inquiring, no, like, you're not saying it right, or as it usually said. He then told the Spanish group to leave for a bit while he was with the Indian group. As some of you know, the inner room is a bit smaller than the outer. Or at least that's how I remembered. During what felt like a somewhat long time due to the wait, I tried to close my eyes and focus on him in concentration. Meditation is too much to ask in such a time. Well, I closed my eyes, and there was this constant and very vivid image of a diamond ring in my mind. I tried to brush it aside, thinking that what a stupid and ludicrous thought to have now, especially now that I was in an interview with Swami himself. But no matter what I did, I couldn't remove the image from my mind. It was very vivid, very much so, and giving me quite a hard time. Well, when Swami left the inner room, he immediately asked again, "What do you want?" And without letting me answer, he immediately said, "A ring?" He then proceeded to materialize one, and I was totally taken aback. He said two significant things. A bit serious. First, diamond, thy mind. Those are strong words, huh? And then, perfect size, as he was putting it into my finger. Well, I was 20 at the time, 22. I was very thin and lanky, and the ring was really loose in my finger, so I had to, later buy a plain ring so that it would act as a sort of brake, so that it wouldn't fall off easily. It was that loose. But Swami had said perfect size, of course. The Lord of Lords, in his wonderful omniscience, he knows everything, and he foresaw that some 20 years later, it would fit, a little more plump, and would indeed be perfect size. The seriousness with which he had said, "Diamond, thy mind," led me a bit reflective, not that worried, but a little wary, a few days after the interview. Well, approximately a year after the interview, I had to experience a terrible process of crippling and excruciating anxiety. A test, a kind of mental and emotional agony I would have never imagined possible. No therapy could help. I was having a lot of trouble getting to sleep. This overwhelming anxiety would affect me also during my work shifts, because I had to work, I had to survive. In meetings, anywhere, making my life incredibly difficult. It was an amazing test. I did have a couple of dreams where Swami was there, a little sad about my condition, but there was like this invisible barrier between us. And in the dreams, I couldn't reach towards him. This horrible suffering lasted till my trip to Prashanti Nilayam in July of 2024, where upon a discourse, I couldn't hold my tears. Sorry, 2004. Sorry. You can bring a script, there was always going to be something. Sorry, 2004. Where upon a discourse, I couldn't hold my tears back in the Sai Kuan hall, and I cried and cried and cried and cried. And yes, the spell was broken as I started to feel much better, regaining my normal self upon returning to my teaching job in September of that year. I don't think my mind has died in a spiritual sense, not by any means. There's still ego, desires, typical thing. But the whole ordeal, I must admit, opened my heart quite significantly and even left me much, much more at peace than I was before. Very much so. It would be an understatement also not to say that the interview was the happiest moment or the most blissful moment I've ever had and I will ever have. As life goes on, I have had my share of difficulties, but I often go back to it. I try to remember to find solace, comfort, and a glimpse of that eternal love of His. Well, one last anecdote. It was around Guru Purnima of 2002. Swami had just given a divine discourse. He stepped down the day and drew close to those of us who were seated at the first line. We were exceptionally on what originally was meant as a science student space. You know, one of those area reserves. So you know that sometimes when there was a holiday or festivity, you know, we Westerners, we could sing a song or, you know, it was very advantageous. And, you know, so, well, we were seated there, and it was an evening performance. As Swami drew nearer, I'll tell you, there was a genuine whirlpool, tornado of divine, ecstatic love that engulfed me. But I must say, not just me. I felt it must have been, you know, all of us, because it was too overpowering and unique to be just me. And so I couldn't really, no, it can't be just me. I mean, so, you know, I glanced at the other devotees of that line, and we kept looking at each other. Some of them I knew from the Western canteen. And we all silently nodded to each other in awe and bewilderment, and confirmed that everyone had experienced and had basked also in that immense orb of love that Swami had been gifted. And it was just darshan, you know, but it was just a moment, but truly amazing. Well, I'll close with some information about the Sai organization in Spain. It was founded in the late 1970s, first in the Canary Islands, but Arjun is running. A devotee that has had the very unique and tremendous fortune of being able to have an interview in Swami's personal quarters, even his room. The Barcelona Sai Center opened in 1983 by long-standing devotees that had fled the region of Sindh after partition. And Swami was so kind to those devotees, so kind. The president, Murli, he told us that he had singled out Barcelona out of awe and reverence towards the Black Madonna of Montserrat. So there you have it. These beautiful underlying blessings and the connection between my mother, her dreams, and these devotees, awe of the Black Madonna, the black sculpted Virgin Marys. We have a Sai center in the city of Valencia too, a country website, related social networks. And for those of you who may be interested, I don't think there's many, but in Spanish language literature, we have some new release books, and kindly reach out to me for any information you may want. I pray to Swami that we shall never lose grasp of him, and that may we always be deserving of his promise towards us. Jai Sai Ram.
I offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagwan. Uncles and aunties, brothers and sisters, Jai Saram. Afternoon lunch is a difficult session, isn't it? Jai Saram. When I was going to bed last night, I said to my wife, what time do you have to leave in the morning? She said to me, it takes 40 minutes to get there. And I was like, 40 minutes? That's a long time. Brother Anthony came from Barcelona this week to spend his time with us and share his experiences. And I'd like to offer our heartfelt gratitude for coming and joining us with your wife. It's really, really lovely to hear your experiences, both when you were not in Prashant Nilayam and then coming to see Swami in 93, your first time, and then again in 2001 with your interview. And really nice to hear those experiences. So thank you for sharing those with us. Right, we're back to workshops now. So when I say go, we'll go back to our workshops. You know where you are. We're going to change all the workshop where you are now. No, we're not going to change any workshop. You're going to be in the same room as you were before. We've got a good just over an hour for the workshop. And then we're back in this hall at 5:20 for the afternoon session. So we shall see you then. Sairam, go.